Zero. Today, we received news that our economy had 0% inflation in the month of July. 0%. Here's what that means. While the price of some things went up last month, the price of other things went down by the same amount. The result, zero inflation last month, but people were still hurting, but zero inflation last month.
The president and my vision for the future also means lowering costs for Americans. Today we learned that last month our economy had 0% inflation.
Can you say today that inflation has peaked in America, given these numbers?
What I can say today is that inflation went up 0% in the month of July. This is the first month in over a year that inflation did not go up, held down by an 8% decline in the price.
Boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. The gaslighting from the Biden administration just will not stop, because they really do believe that their voters are dumb. In fact, they believe that their voters are economically illiterate, right? And it started last year when they told us that inflation would be transitory despite unprecedented trillions of dollars of spending. No, guys, inflation is transitory. Fast forward, right? A year later, we know, in fact, that it's not transitory, okay? And now they are continuing to gaslight on inflation, and we're going to get to that. But first, I want to remind you guys of the latest gaslight from the Biden administration on the economy here, which is about recession, and if we're officially in a recession or not, considering how, by definition, the definition that Democrats accepted basically forever, right? Everybody accepted, especially when Trump was in office. Yeah, by that definition, 2 consecutive quarters of negative GDP growth. We are in a recession, and the Biden administration just flat out denied it. And this denial was so bad, right, that even mainstream media outlets like CNN had to call out the administration on their lies.
To discuss is Gene Sperling, a senior advisor to President Biden. Gene, President Biden today pushing back on suggestions that the U.S. economy is in a recession right now. Generally, traditionally, a recession is understood to be 2 successive quarters of negative economic growth, and that is what we're in. I understand that you will tell me that that's not the official definition, but doesn't this semantic debate risk making the White House seem as if you're in denial and out of touch with Americans who are really struggling out there?
Not at all, Jake. I mean, let's acknowledge that every single family is the world's leading expert on how they themselves are doing. And we totally appreciate the degree that so many Americans feel pinched and squeezed by the higher prices at the gas pump, even with gas prices down, 75 cents now, squeezed at the grocery line by the impacts of global inflation on the U.S. We feel that. We're not denying that.
Yeah, so that same senior Biden White House advisor, Gene Sperling, right? He said that nobody's denying inflation, okay? Nobody's denying that consumer prices are rising. He said that about, 3 weeks ago at the end of July, right? Now, fast forward, okay, to the new inflation report, which shows that the inflation for July is 8.5%, okay? Basically from last July, right? It is 8.5%. Prices are up 8.5%. This guy goes on CNN and claims that there is, in fact, zero inflation. Take a look.
But we want to make clear, we're not, are we encouraged by the fact we created 500,000, the economy created 500,000 jobs this month and there was no inflation? Of course that's encouraging.
There was inflation, it just wasn't as bad as some had predicted it could be. It's still 8.5% year to year when normal is around 2%, right?
For this month, I'm saying there was actually no inflation. But just to be clear, nobody here is suggesting things are good enough. Prices are still too high. They're still hitting, families too hard at the grocery line. It's better at the gas pump than it was. Okay. But yeah, we totally understand people.
And he's not the only Biden official that is being pressed on this. obvious attempt to gaslight the American people.
You say that inflation for July was 0.0%. But you know, inflation for July was not 0.0%. It was north of 8%. So why say 0.0% when your goal here is to, I know, sort of walk the line and say we feel your pain, but it's getting better. But is that a little much to suggest that it's nothing, inflation?
Well, I think what was clear and what the memo certainly made clear was that there is still inflation in this country. And obviously the president has made bringing costs down one of the priorities that he stated clearly throughout this year, and that he's been working.
And there's some people in the mainstream liberal media and also who work for the Obama White House, like his former economists, that were not putting up with these claims that the Biden administration is making that inflation is zero, despite the fact that almost everything is up except energy prices. Take a look.
It is a destruction of the meaning of words. It's Orwellian at its worst. And for Joe Biden to redefine what that means and to attempt to do it for the word recession is really the thing that the American people should be angriest about. You know, I do these presentations and these discussions, and I am a proud contributor to CNBC. I seek the truth. And when the American people understand, and you've got the numbers up there, what the inflation, what it really is, right now, to put people on a plane, to have them attempt to put kids back to school, and they know how expensive it is. For him to say that the inflation rate is zero is going to be one of those issues that we remember the Biden administration for playing games with the English language.
I still think we have a very serious inflation problem in this country. I don't think that inflation problem is going to go away of its own volition. And so I think we're likely to have some quite turbulent times ahead.
So Congresswoman Mayra Flores had a great follow-up question to the Democrats' claims about zero inflation, in which she says, if inflation was zero in July, then why do we need the Inflation Reduction Act? Asking for every taxpayer. Okay. Yeah, right. This is the logical question, right? The next follow-up question is to, okay, well, if inflation is so under control to the point where it's zero, according to Biden, why are you trying to pass this bill? And according to reps like Pramila Jayapal, who's probably one of the most economically illiterate reps in Congress, she says, well, inflation is theoretical.
Ultimately going to lead to a reduction in overall inflation, but most importantly, to the budget that people have every single day. Inflation is like a theoretical word that economists use, but what families feel every day is the up or down of costs.
Oh, that's not probably going to help make anybody feel better.
And if you ask Affirmative Action White House Press Secretary Karine Jean-Pierre about the Inflation Reduction Act and why they need it if inflation is zero, well, you just have to wait till they pass the bill to see.
The Inflation Reduction Act. My gosh, if this gets done, and it will, because the speaker and our leadership is going to make this happen in about 24 hours, it is going to change people's lives. And that is not talking points, that is just the facts.
The House is voting on the Inflation Reduction Act today. Do you think that you have all Democrats?
Well, look, first, let me we're grateful and congratulate Senator Schumer and Senator Manchin for getting this really critical, important anti-inflammation bill out of the Senate. Now it's in the Speaker's hands. We know that she is very apt to get this through with her leadership. So we are confident, and we have been involved in helping in any way that we can. Think about the energy costs and utility bills because of the investments that we're making. They're going to feel that right away.
They're going to feel that right away.
They're going to feel that right away.
How soon?
Well, let's get this bill passed, and then we'll see how the mechanics and all of that's going to work through. But those are things specifically that the Americans are going to feel right away. When it comes to lowering prescription drugs, that'll be earlier in the year, next year.
when it comes to lowering prescription drugs?
Right, because that's something that's Medicare has to negotiate. So that's going to be a process, and that's going to come at.
But the actual phase-in is going to be many years later, just to be clear on the negotiation of the highest price drugs.
Right, that's exactly right. But the process starts early next year. But look, this is a big...
I just want to be clear. I don't think people should be expecting on their drug prices that's going to kick in.
Well, they're going to put the first 10 pieces, the first 10 medication out there, right, to start the process so they can start negotiating the lowering costs. But the point that I'm making is that this is an investment.
That's 2026.
No.
For the first 10 and then the additional ones phasing into 2029?
Well, here's the point that I'm making here is they're going to see energy costs, utility bills. That's going to come down.
Okay, I guess I was trying to speak about the immediate impacts, but I do want to ask you.
But those are the immediate impacts when you think about utility bills.
I'm talking about here in the coming months. Just to be, I think we have some different timeline reference points on that. But
but you're asking me immediate impact. I'm talking about the energy cost. That's going to be immediate. I'm talking about the ACA, the Affordable Care Act, those premiums. That's going to continue. That's going to lower costs for 13 million Americans.
Guys, as you can see that even CNN is not putting up with this level of propaganda coming from the Biden administration, guys. And again, it's gotten to the point where this is dangerous, guys. This is dangerous. They're literally telling the American people, up is down, down is up, right is left, and left is right. That's literally what they're doing. They're trying to redefine the definitions of basic economic terms like recession and inflation to fit their narrative, to try to make it seem like to the American people that the economy is good and that everything is good despite what the American people are actually really feeling in their wallets, right? Again, the fact that Karine Jean-Pierre really went on CNN and thought that she could peddle the idea that the so-called Inflation Reduction Act, which again, why do we need that if there's zero inflation, was going to immediately have an impact on inflation. Again, it's laughable, right? Which tells you the problem with the mainstream media. The fact that she thought she could get away with peddling that, again, it tells you what the problem is. That the Biden administration is used to softballs. They're used to not being called out on this stuff. And lo and behold, as soon as they start to get called out on it from their buddies, right, the Democrat propaganda outlet, CNN, MSNBC, on some of these lies, again, that are so obvious that you can't come out here as a news organization and not call them out, they fall apart, right? Karine Jean-Pierre turns into a stuttering mess, okay? I think she called the bill the Inflammation Reduction Act, right? Or something like that. Again, it's just hilarious to watch these people fall apart when they are asked simple questions, okay? So let me know what you guys think. But my point here is that this is dangerous, right? The level of propaganda coming from the Biden administration, trying to redefine words, it really is some dangerous stuff. Again, this is the same administration, guys, that tried to establish an office to combat so-called disinformation, when this administration is responsible for a vast majority of the disinformation that we're seeing today. Let me know what you guys think. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Most importantly, share a Black conservative perspective. Peace.